Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to embark on a shared journey of understanding, taking a deep dive into something truly profound. I want to invite you to just settle in, take a breath, and get ready to explore a piece of ancient wisdom that feels, honestly, incredibly relevant to the busy, metric-driven lives we're all leading today. Okay, let's dive right into this.
Picture this. You're lying in bed. It's maybe 2 a.m. The house is totally quiet, and this strange, midnight existential question drifts in. If I peeled away my job, my titles, my relationships, what other people think of me, what is actually left of me? It's a question that can make you feel a little cold, right? Because we start to notice that this me we defend so confidently all day long is actually being propped up by a whole lot of external things. We get so used to leaning on them that we completely forget to look underneath to see if there's a fixed, unchanging core down there at all.
Well, about 2,500 years ago, a text of exactly 260 words, which, by the way, is shorter than most emails you're going to send today, was written to speak directly to that 2 a.m. anxiety. It's called the Heart Sutra, and it doesn't comfort you with platitudes like, "You're special, you're enough." Nope, it does something way bolder. It takes the self you think is so solid, and it gently dismantles it, layer by layer, showing you that your identity is actually incredibly fluid and assembled. It's super short, which is exactly why it's kind of one of the most misunderstood teachings ever written.
All right, let's look at part 1, Rethinking Emptiness.
To truly grasp the Heart Sutra, we've got to rethink one of its most famous and definitely most complex ideas. The most widely known line in the text is, "Form is emptiness." Now, most people hear that word, emptiness, and immediately assume it means nothingness, like some bleak, meaningless void where nothing matters. But in this context, emptiness simply means without a fixed, independent, unchanging essence. It doesn't mean life is an illusion. It just means that absolutely nothing in our lives has a rigid, permanent core that exists completely on its own.
Think about holding a hot cup of tea in your hands. That tea is really just a combination of tea leaves, hot water, the shape of the cup holding it, and the hands of whoever brewed it. If you start pulling those conditions away one by one, take away the heat, take away the leaves, take away the water, the tea stops happening. Now, the tea isn't fake. You can taste it. It can literally burn you. But there's no magical tea in itself floating free of those conditions. The tea is just a temporary appearance of conditions coming together.
Which brings us to this incredibly profound, famous quote. Form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Let that sit for a second. Because things are empty, meaning they're fluid and unfixed, they can vividly exist and keep changing. Emptiness doesn't erase the world. Emptiness is the very reason the world can keep happening. I mean, if the tea leaves and water couldn't change and interact, you'd never get a cup of tea. So the crucial takeaway here is that the sutra is quietly saying, don't treat anything as a solid, unmoving block.
Moving on to part 2, the 5 aggregates.
So if the whole world is just a flowing combination of conditions, what about us? What about that self we were worrying about at 2 a.m.? The sutra introduces this concept called the 5 aggregates. Instead of a single, solid you are a temporary assembly of 5 constantly changing slices. First, form, your physical body. Second, feeling, the raw tone of an experience, whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Third, perception, how your brain recognizes and labels things as good or dangerous. Fourth, mental formations, your urges, impulses, and habits. And fifth, consciousness, just the sheer function of knowing and being aware. Every single moment of your life is just these 5 slices interacting with each other.
But here's the big warning label. The Buddha didn't say these 5 pieces don't exist. He simply pointed out that they're constantly shifting. But we, and this is the problem, we mistakenly tie them all together, slap a neat little name on the bundle, and treat it as a fixed block. And that is exactly where our suffering comes from. Your body aches and you feel, I am falling apart. A single bad thought arises and you conclude, well, this is just who I am. When we finally realize the assembly isn't a fixed block, man, we start to suffer a whole lot less.
Okay, part 3, dropping the tinted glasses. As we get to the middle section of the Heart Sutra, things can feel a little daunting. Hearing words like no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, can definitely induce a bit of panic. Like, how can eyes and ears be a no? It sounds like we're just throwing everything out and completely denying reality. But remember what we've learned so far. Imagine you've worn tinted glasses for so long you completely forgot you even had them on. You just naturally assume that's how the world looks.
When the sutra says, no eye, no ear, it's like someone gently lifting those glasses off your face. The word no here is actually a verb. It's an invitation to release your death grip on the way you think things must be. It's not asking you to go blind or plug your ears. It's simply asking you to stop clinging to your own labels as absolute, unquestionable truth.
Which brings us to part 4, modern application.
Okay, so this is beautiful, ancient, poetic philosophy. But how does this 2,500-year-old text actually help us in our hyper-connected modern lives? We live in an era of pure information overload, where our self is endlessly measured by KPIs, social media likes, performance reviews, the whole shebang. The sutra helps us move away from grasping, where we stake our entire worth on an outcome and white-knuckle our jobs and relationships because we think they define our solid self, toward engaging. Engaging means giving your whole heart to your work or your life, but being able to release the outcome. You engage fully, absolutely, but you loosen your grip.
And finally, part 5, 3 practices for freedom.
Let's take this abstract philosophy and make it highly, highly practical for you today. We've got 3 actionable habits to practice realizing that our aggregates are empty. First, changing how we speak about anxiety. Second, giving our thoughts permission to move. And third, checking our grip on reality. Let's break these down one by one.
Practice 1. Instead of saying, I am anxious, which literally glues the emotion right to your core identity, try saying, anxiety is arising. Just that tiny shift in language separates that one wave of feeling from the whole ocean of who you are. Remember those 5 aggregates? Anxiety is just a temporary feeling, a passing condition. When it no longer equals all of you, it becomes so much easier to observe, and honestly, so much easier to let pass.
Practice 2 is for your mental formations. Try sitting for literally just 1 minute today. Watch a thought appear, let it linger for a moment, and then just watch it dissolve. Do this without judging it, without chasing it down a rabbit hole, and definitely without trying to aggressively suppress it. You are not the thought. You're just the awareness watching the thought come and go.
And practice 3 is a question you can ask yourself while you're working, chasing a goal, or even caring for someone. Am I engaging or am I grasping? Are you putting in your whole heart but allowing the results to be what they will be? Are you bound by a death grip on the outcome, terrified of losing? Because you can work incredibly hard without being tightly bound by the result. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want you to remember this. The Heart Sutra is a doorway, not a destination. It doesn't ask you to adopt some dogmatic belief system or become a totally different person. It simply, warmly opens up the things you thought were so solid, your labels, your fears, your rigid sense of self, until you see that there was so much space underneath all along. And that space isn't an empty void, it's freedom.
If you take one thing away from our time together today, please let it be this beautiful reminder. You don't have to treat every wave as the entire ocean. When those 2 a.m. thoughts arrive, or the anxiety spikes, remember that it's just a passing condition. You are fully empowered to observe your own flowing life with warmth, wisdom, and a much, much gentler grip. So what would change in your life today if you stopped trying to control the ocean and simply allowed the waves to wash over you? Keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next explainer.